Whatever relationship we have with men is the relationship that we have with our masculine self. It's still a reflection, and we still have to figure out what's going on. When you want to be in partnership with them, you have to think, who do I want to be? And in order to know who you want to be, you have to know who you are. You have to know that there's going to be steps to get to the person that you want to be. It can't be in the light thereof of the perfect partner that you want. You have to figure out, what is my highest level? Because I'm an individual. I'm my own person. What do I have to do in order to get to where I want to be?
Hello, stranger. It's been a minute since we last kicked it. And by the way, I just got in town, and I won't let cumulus clouds all in the sky.
Hey, welcome back. I missed you all. So today we are going to have a nice little discussion. But before we dive into that, go ahead and grab a bev or light some incense if you feel inclined. We're going to get right into our discussion. If you all notice, I did change the setup a little bit. My son wanted to decorate for Christmas, and typically I don't celebrate the holiday. But recently I noticed that it's important to go ahead and just give kids the cheer. You can educate them at the same time. If they want to do something, you might as well get it over with while they're young, or they're going to be adults trying to fill these empty voids. I will say that I definitely like it. It's growing on me. So with our discussion today, lately I've been realizing a lot of discourse on the internet, and maybe because I have a couples page, but also it's come up in private channeling sessions, and I've been seeing different things on the internet about relationships. Recently, I noticed that anytime someone has asked me a relationship question, they want to know how to get and keep a man in some type of retrospect. And I know a lot of people are hell-bent on not coming off as Pickme Ch6, so on and so forth. I tend not to go down the path of shaming. I'll bring it up just for context. At the same time, I typically don't like to shame because it's ignorant to do that, to say the least. We've all been in a place where it's pretty embarrassing if everybody knew we were there, right? And if you're the only person that knew that you were there, or that you are still there, and you're parading around like that's not you, then you just don't have integrity and morality. And I just can't vibe with that. When I look back at myself, I wasn't necessarily always trying to get a man, but when one came around, I wanted it to work. So I found myself trying to make things work that wouldn't work. And I thought to myself, why didn't those things work? What was happening to me back then where these different scenarios weren't working? If I look at myself in a higher vibration and I see where I am in my understanding and my being, I understand why they didn't work. I understand because I wouldn't have been able to be myself fully. I wouldn't have been able to have room to grow. And oftentimes I noticed that when I was in a relationship, people would like to lock me down or put me in a bubble or put me in a box and try to keep me away from everyone else in some shape, form, or fashion. And that just doesn't work for me. They would perceive me as something that I thought I wasn't, and that wasn't comfortable either. Looking at my partner now, my fiance, and seeing who I am now with him, I understand why we work. But in the beginning, sometimes I would have a conversation with the divine and say, why is this person my person? Because it doesn't seem like we're seeing eye to eye in these moments or in these situations. But as we developed, as we grew, as we learned each other, I realized this is actually the best person for me to be with, especially right now. He's meeting me in a state that a lot of other people haven't experienced me in. It seems as though oftentimes people are trying to tap into something. They're actively trying to be feminine. They're actively trying to be a divine feminine, actively trying to be a boss, a millionaire, a trillionaire, whatever is on people's minds nowadays. Instead of setting intention of where you want to be and then going down the path to get there, And I feel like the people that are drawn to my videos understand what I'm saying. But if you don't, that probably sounds like a huge gap. How in the world am I going to set the intention and then just go with the flow and get there? Well, there is something that's really important that you need to have. It's called discernment. A lot of people don't have it because they don't trust themselves. So as I reflect back to how I used to date and who I used to be around and all of these obstacles that were in my way and why certain people didn't work out, why I had to continue different cycles, what I needed to learn and understand, and why it took so long. Looking at all of those different things, I realized that I don't have a concrete answer to say how I ended up here. The only thing that I can say is I learned how to trust myself and I learned how to flow with the divine. In trusting myself, of course, I had to trust the divine. What in the world does that mean? Why is it so important? And why is it so many people that aren't willing to go down that road? Of course, people want to go down that path and they want to do these things, but there's always something holding them back and keeping them tied to the things that they're trying to evolve from. And people are just simply hard-headed. The direction that you need to go in order to get to the thing or the person or the opportunity that you want to get to does not seem like a straight shot. It seems like you deviate away from the path that makes the most sense to obtain what it is that you want. Every time someone asks me, what do I have to do to get a man? Or how do I make this relationship work? My person is doing this and I don't know how to overcome this and I don't know what to do. All of these different things, I'm realizing that people are looking for a straight through the door answer. Most people that want to get the views, want to get the money, no shade. They typically just give you that answer, or they give you something that sounds good, or they give you what they know you want to hear, because that is what's going to suffice for you. That's what's going to make you feel like the money, time, effort that you put in that transaction was fulfilled, because you're in a transactional mindset. So if you operate in that mindset with that, then you're clearly operating in that mindset with partners and relationships and dating. One thing that was really confusing to me was why people were always looking for a person in a way of, I want them to have this, I want them to know that, I want them to operate like this, and then that will be my person. Even though that seems like a straight shot, that's so backwards. Let me explain. Recently, my fiance took me on a date. We went out to brunch. We found ourselves really enjoying the food. It was delicious. So as we looked at the ambiance of the place, it's cute, it's set up nice, the vibe was warm, people were chill. And as I looked around, I saw that they had an Instagram counter on shelves. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I wonder if they really have that amount. Like, are they actually going up there and flipping the little numbers as they gain followers? I pulled them up on Instagram and I see the chef and I was like, oh, okay, the chef is a brother. Actually, that makes sense. The food is pretty good, you know, okay. So my fiance said, I want to meet the chef. And I looked at him, I was like, why do you want to meet the chef? And he was like, I just want to meet the chef. Not even 10 minutes later, I'm looking down and I see someone walk past and my intuition tells me that's a chef. I looked up and my fiance was like, that was a chef. And I looked, I was like, yeah, that is the chef. So he comes back. He has these peculiar glasses on. He's maybe an older gentleman, I would guess late 40s, maybe early 50s. Now, I'm a professional yapper if you haven't noticed already. So naturally, we started to have this small conversation with him and he told us how he built his business, how everything started, why he became a chef, so on and so forth. And as he spoke, I was able to pick up and grasp his aura. And that's the best way I can describe it, you all. As I go into detail, correct me if I'm using the incorrect word, because I know people depict aura as light, but I want to say something more than energy because it's a collection of what I picked up from him. His scent, how he looked, the way he spoke and explained how he came about building this business, sort of in a boastful, proud, but boastful manner. The rimlets of him reminded me of something, and it was a slight trigger, but I knew where this trigger was coming from, and I was able to hold my composure in the midst of him discussing how his mother put her house up for him to get the restaurant, and he paid her back, so on and so forth. Beautiful story. When we wrapped up the discussion, I told my fiance, he reminds me of the customers that I used to have to deal with at my old job. That was the type of customer that would always hit on me. I would be utterly disgusted. Later on, I continued the conversation. I told him, it's something about him that triggers me. Even the way he looked at me, I was like, I have a feeling that if I came here by myself, he would have tried to hit on me. I don't want to seem like I think everybody is trying to hit on me. I know when people are and when they aren't. My intuition is just sharp. I couldn't help but to reflect. And I started to get a little upset. And I was like, wow, this is something that I think that I have to deal with. Maybe go into meditation, pray on or something, because I'm still triggered. And I think I was triggered because I didn't have help when I went to management, or I discussed how uncomfortable I was, how these men were talking to me and handling me, looking at me, remarks that they were making. I was not okay with it. Management took it very lightly. They were like, well, you just got to get money from them. You know, it was interesting because it was a male management system. So of course they're not going to really have your back. They're just like, girl, that's all we hired you. You cute. So sell them some stuff, right? But that used to trigger me. In my last video, I discussed how I felt like I was going against my spirit and my purpose, my soul, working in that field. And this is one of the things that I was talking about. These customers had no problem with inappropriate behavior discussions in a work and public setting. They had no decorum. That rubbed me the wrong way. I understood that these particular men thought that they were high value men because they typically get what they want from certain type of women, and because I'm young, they often put me into a box, thinking that I'm going to be impressed by the one objective and goal that they were able to achieve in life, while there are other goals in life that you can achieve. As I thought about it, I told my fiance that older type of men with money typically only want one thing, honey. These are the type of men that Ch4 7 may be speaking of, and they've always rubbed me the wrong way because their mindset to me is very transactional. And for me to be a very spiritual person, transaction just doesn't work for me. I'm not going to be able to be transactional with you because I won't be fulfilled. I have no fulfillment in having you in my life. If I'm just going to use you for money, I might as well just buckle up and get it myself, because I don't want to have to deal with the nonsense that you come with. And as I began to explain this to my fiance, I see why I could never be that girl to go after that type of man. I could never see myself with that type of man. And he looked at me, he was like, why? Well, I would hate who I would have to become in order to tolerate them. So here is where we shift gears. Instead of us looking at what a man is and what he has and what he doesn't have, what he brings, and all of these different things, who are you when you're with him? Who are you in his presence? Who are you destined to be with him in your life? Those are the things that we have to start thinking about. And this is not short of the obvious. You have to do what you need to do before you even get into any type of union and commitment with anyone else. And this can even extend to family, friends, co-workers, children. You have to have a solid ground before you truly operate a certain way and show up a certain way in the world, especially in romantic relationships, okay? A lot of people blame all of these other people for all of these things, and I promise you, I know that people say things and they're trendy and they sound good. I can tell they have not experienced anything. I know the difference between shifting my energy and going within, healing myself, clearing my viewpoints on a lot of different things, changing my belief systems, going out into the world around men that I feel like were always there, and experiencing a completely different energy from men. Now, manifestation is definitely real. Whatever you pay attention to, whatever you believe, that's what you will receive. So if you think a lot of them ain't ish, if you think a majority of them act a certain type of way that's displeasing to you, you will definitely see that one way or another, whether your perspective is true or whether it's fragmented and it's a figment of your imagination. It will become your reality. When I had that epiphany, I would not like who I would have to become. And he asked me, who would you have to become? And I was like, a straight up savage. I would have to play stupid little games. And I don't want to play stupid little games because I don't want to win stupid little prizes. And while I am good at those stupid little games, I don't want to have to lower my IQ in order to obtain something that I could always obtain from myself and uplift my spirit and fuel myself and get it alone. Why would I go after someone or put myself in a position with something that's gonna turn me into something that I don't wanna be? Hey, I gotta be honest, I'm a lover girl type. I love love. I like listening to R&B and all different type of music that's soft and sensual, loving. I like to dance, okay? I don't have time to run around and be chasing a 40-plus-year-old something that's playing on my phone because he needs his ego stroked and he needs to feel special because he has no fulfillment within himself. There are different things that I feel like we all need, men and women. It's a scale. Now, I'm going to show it to you as a circular graph. One of the sections is social, another is mental, physical, financial, spiritual, emotion, and belief. That is a large umbrella of what I believe can be a good, balanced self-knowledge graph. A lot of people only go for a couple of things on the graph, or they only hit the surface of a lot of these different things. I won't be fulfilled with someone that their only goal in life was to make it, to be popular, to hold some sort of weight over someone's head. And not saying that that's what this gentleman was doing. I'm just saying the persona of this type of person. I don't want to be around someone like that because they're always going to find a way to shoot me down or belittle me. I'm going to have to do a lot in order to keep my vibrations high in order to be around this sort of person. Now, when I was younger, I didn't understand this. When I was younger, I was a trip. I probably would take his money and then dip. If it was easy to take, I'd probably take it. If it wasn't, then oh well. Because when I was in sales and I had those customers, the more they made me upset, the more I ripped a hole in their pockets. I was very good at it. That uncomfortability that I experienced, that rage that I was experiencing, they were mistaking that for sass, and they liked that. It was almost like they got off from it. It was probably really sadistic because they felt like I was hard to get. And I'm giving you all game, free game. But they felt like I was hard to get when in all actuality, I really didn't like them and they just couldn't read the room. And the more they upset me, the more they said something I disliked, the more thousands and hundreds I would add to their bill because at this point, I don't care. Even saying it and sitting here and looking and feeling my disposition in my body, I don't like how it feels. It doesn't matter that I'm good at it. What matters is what is going to fuel my spirit. I can't be with another version of a guy that maybe is younger and has his stuff together. Maybe he's a lover guy too. And that's where we would probably connect because he's all into R&B, I'm all into R&B, and we have this little thing going, right? And even though I'm cute, I may not be his type. So he'll be willing to settle for me until he gets his type, but he's just wasting time because he has this image of what he wants in life. And he needs that girl to fit that image. And when he gets that girl, he doesn't necessarily love that girl. He just loves the fact that she fits into this structure. And he loves the fact that he was able to obtain this dream, and he loves the fact that now everything is in place in his little world. And a lot of women get caught up in trying to be that of what he's attracted to. Oh, he likes big booty girls, let me go in the gym and start getting a big booty. Oh, he likes BBL girls, let me go and get a BBL. Oh, he likes girls with long natural hair, I don't got that, but let me go ahead and get this invisible part, or 27 inch or 30 inch or whatever inch bust down or whatever that looks natural. Let me give something a little bit better than what he likes, and maybe he'll choose me. And it's like, you're trying to put yourself in this puzzle that you don't belong to. You spend and waste a lot of time going outside of yourself to try to match, appease, view, rate, all of these different things when it comes to a partner. And this is why people always tell you, focus on yourself. Take time to yourself. Learn how to decenter men. In the beginning, I told you all that I don't shame women that are Pickme Ch6. And I know there are some that are really problematic. I'm not gonna ignore that fact, but I'm just gonna say that I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. You have to focus on yourself, and you have to learn how to decenter, because at the end of the day, you were raised to center men. Your entire existence all over the world has been to center men. And I feel like that is part of the matrix, okay? That's a huge part of the matrix, because everywhere where there should be a woman, they replace it with a man. Remember that. So it's not that, oh, look at her, she's choosing to be a Pickme Ch. I feel like we were all bred to be a Pickme Ch in some way, shape, or form, and you just got to make it out the matrix. You have to figure out how to get past this debilitating energy and realize that the energy is within yourself. You're a creator. You're masterful. You have all of these things that a lot of these people can't even understand. And you have to learn how to cultivate that. You have to learn how to be strong, independent, and have self-accountability. You have to learn how to be in control of you. You have to also learn how to fill all of those voids in that chart. You have to figure out how to operate and maneuver through life so that you can then start to create your own universe. It starts with one seed and one garden, and you will continue to grow and blossom. Because being mean or being a pick-me or being whatever people want to be is not going to erase the fact that whatever relationship we have with men is the relationship that we have with our masculine self. It's still a reflection, and we still have to figure out what's going on. When you want to be in partnership with them, you have to think, who do I want to be? And in order to know who you want to be, you have to know who you are. You have to know that there's going to be steps to get to the person that you want to be. It can't be in the light thereof of the perfect partner that you want. You have to figure out, what is my highest level? Because I'm an individual. I'm my own person. What do I have to do in order to get to where I want to be? You know you don't want to be a pick-me. You know you don't want to be a Barbara the Builder. You know you don't want to be a scorned woman. But here and yet you're doing and thinking and believing all of these things that lead you down all of these different paths. Currently, where I sit, I feel like I'm closer to my divine feminine than ever before. And even though my fiance and I, we have our debacles, we have our things that we go through, I still figure out a way to find peace. And now that I understand myself a lot more, I understand how to handle these situations moment by moment. I'm fully aware that I'm not handling it at the best of my ability, and I know how to fix it, and I know how to come back from it. A lot of us don't even know that. A lot of us go on dates, or we deal with men or are in relationships, and we blame them for wasting our time, so on and so forth. But we hold the key. We hold the key and we hold the lock. And a lot of us are like, here, you could take it because it looks like you have something going on. So I don't want to settle for a dusty, so I'm going to deal with you. But then that person has something else going on that you don't even know about. For me personally, I have pre-dating questions that I ask. These pre-dating questions add the most value when you know what you're looking for, when you understand how a person responds is helping you figure out who they are and what their intentions are with you. Let's touch on intention. Intention is really important. If you value romance and you value relationship and you value family in some sort of way, when you go out and date, you are projecting your ideas and your beliefs onto the person that you're with. So you automatically assume that they value romance the same way and they value family the same way and they value all of these things the same way. When in all actuality, this is where discernment comes in. You have to look at how this person actually is. You have to be able to pick up on people's intentions, and you have to know your own intention. We forget that men and women don't see romance the same when it comes to intention. Okay, so if you're dealing with a person that's thinking about doing the do with you at the end of the date, or at some point of time, that is where their mind is at. Their intention is going to lead them down a road where the development of everything that transpires is going to look different than how it would if you were on the end dealing with yourself. So oftentimes you're mindlessly in love, you're lost in the sauce, you're compatible with this individual, and you forget that their intention and your intention may be in separate places. And for you, it doesn't feel good to cut those emotions off. It doesn't feel good to see things clearly. You want to get lost in a sauce that feels good to you, and that is your repeating cycle that you have to step out of. So when you say, I like to be wine and dine, I love romance, I like this, I like that, I like all of these different things, you can give a man all of the keys to success and they will still put it in the wrong lock because their intention has them going in a direction that is not understanding what you're trying to relay. And because you're not full and fulfilled within self, you don't know how to inspire or guide this individual to do what it is that you're asking for. You all are two little blind mice leading each other all over the place, never really seeing eye to eye. This is why oftentimes when you try to set a standard, they are not able to meet the standard because one, you don't know how to set the standard. You're thinking you're in your feminine energy because you hear all of this regurgitated information and you think, oh, if I say this, because men are very literal and they're logical and they just like to get straight to the point, they're going to understand that I want gifts. They're going to understand that I want to be wined and dined. They're going to understand that I want to be put up. Whenever I hear a woman say, I want a man that's going to allow me to rest in my femininity to a man, whatever she gets after that, you're in the same vibrational energy of that. That's not something that you should have to say. When you're in your feminine energy, you don't have to verbally communicate what you want and deserve. When you're dealing with a man that is intentional about making you a wife, not intentional about gifts, not intentional about making you feel good, but intentional about saying, you know what? I can see myself working with this individual for the rest of my life. I think we'll go far. They will have to have that mindset of will go far, not just, I can't wait to be a husband. Because little do you know, men have that thought as well. There are men that want to be husbands, but they don't do the actions or the job title of husband. That's another job. Just like a lot of women just want the ring and the wedding and to stun and everybody needs to know that I'm married and I'm a wife and I'm Mrs. blah, blah, blah. They don't know it's a job. It's not La La Land. It's not Disney. This is a job. This is responsibility. The quicker you get that through your head, the better off. Before first date, you should know that marriage is a job. It's work. People don't like to work. People don't know how to love the work that they do. You can't run from work for your whole entire life. You can't avoid conflict for the rest of your life. You can't. If you want to grow and evolve, you will definitely meet a lot of conflict. You will most definitely experience some sort of resistance. That's natural. But it's so many of us that don't understand that life is work. Everything that we do in life is work, especially when we deal with other people. It's going to be work. Femininity doesn't have to say it. And a man that is truly in tune with you. And when I say this, I want you to know the divine definitely has a hand in all of this. So if you keep meeting duds, I'm just gonna have to be blunt. You're the dud too. There are things that you need to learn from these people that you're not picking up on. You're going to keep getting a lot of people to prepare you for the person that's going to actually help you get along in life, that's not around just for a season. I always say this in every video. Relationships are life lessons. It's not a fairy tale. It's not Disney. You're not Cinderella. Being in your feminine energy is also work. It's just not the type of work that you think it is. When you want someone to only pour into you, and you think that just showing up and playing a position is going to give them energy and inspire them to continue pouring into you, you are sadly mistaken. When a feminine woman walks in the room, men are faced with a question: can I afford her? Not does she deserve it? Not what is she gonna do for me? They don't even care about that. Their mindset and their energy is shifted to something else. They either attempt to get what they want because they know that they can and they can afford it, or they back off and they say, you know what, I know that I can't take care of her the way I would want to take care of her. And the lady hasn't said anything at all. And that's the difference. It's a lot of people. I'm just gonna have to keep it real in this video. I keep trying to dance around this and be very gentle with you all. Unfortunately, my spirit is not feeling that. There's a lot of people with poverty mindset thinking that the issues that they have and the gender war that they're trying to have out on the internet or in person in the streets, they think that that's rich people problems, and it's not. Rich people don't argue about who's gonna wash the dishes and put the babies to sleep. They don't argue about who's going to cook dinner because they pay people to do that. So until you are in the mind frame of being the type of partner that comes from that lifestyle or has created that lifestyle and it's not really a big deal for you, money isn't the biggest issue or the only issue on your mind. Until you get there, you're gonna have to learn how to operate with the people that you're aligned with now. They're showing you something so that you can develop into who you need to develop into to meet the person that you are going to take off with. So many are worried about trying to hop on somebody else's bandwagon and coast for the rest of our life. Nobody likes a user, whether male or female, it doesn't matter. Nobody likes a user. Nobody likes dead weight. Nobody likes an opportunist person. I mean, I guess it depends on what field of work you're in. Maybe that is useful. But for the majority, it typically rubs people the wrong way. So if you can't give yourself what you're demanding from someone or expecting from someone, then you have a lot of review to do. And that is not geared just towards men or women. That's geared to both. If you want love and affection, but you can't give it, you got to go back to the drawing board, and you are the drawing board. You have to look in the mirror. You have to face yourself. You have to ask yourself, why do you keep ending up in these circumstances? And that is the reason why I'm where I am today. I realized there isn't a structural type of man that I could have created for myself. The divine stepped in and brought my fiance to me. That's not something that I went out and looked for. Matter of fact, I wasn't looking for anyone. Yep. If you guys want story time on that, I think that I'll definitely do that. But I wasn't looking for anything. We were actually in the same place at the same time and did not see each other, even though we were right in front of each other and we missed each other because it wasn't our time. When we came back together months later, that's when it was our time. And even then, I told the divine, I was like, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship right now. I told you that I'm done with this shit forever. I'm already working on my plan for how my life is going to look when I'm older. I'm taking care of myself so I don't have to rely on my son to take care of me when I'm older. I started to think about what my life is going to be like in the future, and I began to prepare myself for being alone forever. No more hopes and punk faking, looking over my shoulder like, oh, I'm done with men. And then, is that him? I didn't do that anymore. I was done. When he came into my life, I wasn't trying to figure him out. I wasn't thinking about anything. The only thing that made me talk to him was a download that the divine gave me months earlier. It was the key that I knew this was something that I had to do. God already gave me multiple signs prior, and I listened. I was obedient. And when that time came and I had that recollection, I literally put my phone down on the couch and I started to walk away, and all of a sudden that memory came back to me like it was yesterday. I completely forgot about it. That's when I was like, okay, I guess. But it had nothing to do with how he looked. It had nothing to do with what he did for a living or how he was going to take care of me or anything at all. I was solely going off what the divine told me. So remember that. The divine definitely has to be in your life and working these steps out with you. But also, baby, you got to think about, who are you going to be with this person? Does this person make you insecure? Do they trigger more insecurities into you? Are they going to turn you into a savage? Are they going to cause more damage that you're not going to be able to come back from? Are you not going to hold on to all of your responsibilities and promises that you told yourself before they came into your life? You have to think about that. That's why a lot of women are saying they don't date their type. They're moving away from dating their type. Remember that trend? Remember that era? That's because you don't have any strength, babe. You can't say no, not answer the phone when you're genuinely busy because you just can't resist this person. That's not love. I don't know what that is, but that's not love. Because love means when I'm working on something, I'm working on my stuff. I'm not going to put myself on the back burner. I am very important. This is my most important thing. I have to figure me out. Love is, the divine told me to go in this direction. I'm not going to turn back for you. You look good on paper, but the divine said no. Standing 10 toes in that. I have a story time before I close out with you guys. It just came to me, so I think I really want to share it. And I had all of these different things that I wanted to talk about, but I think this is the last thing that I'm going to say. There was a gentleman that came into my life. I think we met on Instagram. Yeah, we definitely met on Instagram. He had a high-paying job. He was very accomplished. He was in 7-figure bracket. I was not impressed. The first moment that we spoke, I didn't like him, but something was pulling me toward him. And I couldn't explain the feeling because my mind and my heart and my spirit was like, it's a hard no for me. He was insufferable to deal with. I never met this man in person, but we FaceTime, we talked over the phone. He lived in a different state. And the things that he said, I was just like, oh, it's just getting worse every day. Like, I've never been so disgusted by somebody in my life. And another thing that irked me about him so much was the fact that he was incredibly insecure and did a lot of overcompensating for it. And I was just like, oh my goodness, just be real with yourself. Every day it was torture. And when I say it's torture, he would do things like tell me how much he missed me. He was starting to fall in love with me. I could be his next wife. Oh Lord, help me. What is the purpose of dealing with this person? And every single night that we got off the phone, I would ask God, what is the purpose? Can we speed this up? What is happening? Like, why? Why do I need to talk to this person? I want to say maybe 2 days later, we had a discussion. And one thing that he kept doing was accusing me of being dishonest. Meanwhile, I had never been dishonest with him. So I asked him, why do you always accuse me of being dishonest? I've never showed you that I'm dishonest. So where is this coming from? And he was like, well, I just don't trust people off bat like that. I was like, okay, so from 0 to 100, where do you start me off at on your trust scale? I think he said like a 7. I was like, oh, why is it a 7? He started explaining to me why it was a 7. And then he returned the favor and asked me, where do you start people off on your trust scale? And I was like, well, I start people off at 100. I have no reason not to trust them. Why am I going to project my issues onto them or look at everything from a negative lens? He was like, well, that just doesn't work because they have nowhere to go but down. Something in me cracked open and lit up. I knew instantly. I was like, that's it. Of course, I was kind of triggered because, what do you mean? But I knew he was right. Even though I didn't like what he was saying, And I didn't like how he said it either. I can't really remember how he said it. Or maybe I just didn't like him. The fact still remains, I knew, okay, that's it. He had information for me that nobody else could give me in this time. He just knew what to say, and he knew how to relay that message. And I'm really good at taking criticism, even if I don't like the person, even if I'm triggered. If I know it's true, then I know it's true and I'll work on it. After that day, it wasn't even after that day, the same day, I said, okay, I can finally let him go. Thank God. And I knew exactly what to do to let him go. I finally started to behave like I was interested. I behaved like I was into him. That man never called me back, and I have always been grateful for it. I knew he was playing a game with me. I didn't get caught up in seven figures. I didn't get caught up in the life he was trying to push in front of my eyes and make me believe was going to be mine. I wasn't into the delusion. I knew from day one he wasn't it. I didn't like him. And it wasn't like I hated him. I didn't know him enough to hate him. I just knew that he rubbed me the wrong way. So I didn't try to make a square fit in a circle. He was never going to fit. And I understood he was never meant to fit. I was never meant to be intimate with this gentleman. I was never meant to see him in person. I was never meant to daydream about any of the fantasies he was trying to feed me. The only thing I was there to do was collect information. Keep that in mind while you also reflect on what type of woman will I be with this man? And even if it's a good man, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you going to be damaged? Are you going to be bringing broken pieces that you haven't even tried to mend and put together and hand it to him for him to fix? That's not right either, right? We don't want anybody to do that to us. So why would we do that to them? And believe it or not, even when you do heal to the point that you come into union with the person that just all of a sudden makes sense, they were the least likely version of partner that you would take, but for some reason you guys are really good for each other, you're still gonna have things that you're gonna need to fix. But at least you already fixed everything else. So that's my download that I received. And I actually did an audio version of this, and it's very uncut and uncensored. It's gonna be on Patreon. So I think that I'll just do like a little podcast version of the raw ideas that I get for these different videos, but that goes into depth. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out my Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, definitely let me know in the comments what you think, what you felt. I love to read you all's comments, especially when I get time to respond. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to keep up with me. And I will see you next time. Yeah, that's my time, y'all. Peace, love, and a little bit of spice. Mwah.